Welcome everyone. Today we'll have an exciting and also amazing build I want to share with you guys. Looking behind me, the numbers are bonkers, and if you're just seeing the training dummies, you might not be able to see how incredible the build is, but it is insane in terms of damage. So let me show you guys some in-game demonstrations against the boss and also higher tier dungeons. So our first demonstration will be the tier 4 Julra, and let's have a look how fast this build can clear the tier 4 boss. And that was 1 second. Yes, it took down the boss within 1 second. Now the next demonstration is a corruption level 1200 plus boss. And let's have a look at how powerful this Marksman build is against the boss. Oh boy, this build is so incredible, guys. I was watching it, I was having goosebumps. And yes, it took less than 3 or 4 seconds. Well, the boss did survive for more than 4 seconds. And yes, that was the boss in 1200 corruption. Now in terms of demonstration to the build, I think the replays will definitely show you guys how powerful it is. The build is extremely mobile, has tons of warding and also tons of mobility and also damage. Everything melts within seconds. And if it doesn't melt in 2 seconds, you have your money back. No, I'm joking. But this is the 1200 corruption level. And over here, my friend AMB is showing us how powerful the Marksman can be. Yes guys, this is one of the strongest meta Marksman build, and it is bonkers. It is literally more broken than any build I've seen. It's incredible boss slaying. It is very mobile, because the higher movement speed he has, the stronger the more damage he deals. And also it does everything. It clears Monolith and also echoes incredibly fast, it kills bosses, and it's super speedy. So just to show you guys a little bit and also highlight of the skill rotations. Notice on the skill board, it is auto casting skills. That's right. It is also a 2-button clicker, or you can click 3 buttons. You can be casting dash and swift. As you swift into enemies, you'll be auto casting your shurikens. And as you guys cast your exploding traps, you'll be auto casting your detonating shots. And this is incredibly powerful simply because of the amount of lightning damage you're doing. You also have tons of warding, and you also have additional mobility and also damage reduction and also protectiveness with your smoke grenade. You also remove debuffs. Yes, the build is pretty fun to watch and it is super fast. Everything melts on the map, and this is not a common dungeon, right? So this is 1200 corruption level plus, and the build is extremely high-end potential. So let me show you guys the build planner and also the highlights of the build. Now before we jump over to the planner, I want to give a big shout out and also thank you for my friend ambrxho. This is one of my Chinese friends who also plays Diablo 4, and he is currently making videos on bilibili. So I have his entire video guide, which is 24 minutes over here, available for you guys to have a look. He can also speak English and type English if you guys have any questions and also want to learn from him. And over here you can see my notes. I was too excited to write it anywhere else, so I wrote it on the notepad over here for us. I want to explain the progress of the build and also the Holy Trinity that he's using for the endgame. I want to explain to you guys the skill combos, item acquisition, and also the potential to make the loot filter for you guys. Because his loot filter will be very high level and also very strict. I will be working on the loot filter for you guys and updating this one with a new loot filter. So coming over to our build planner, you can see this Marksman is super high end. Every bit of item is legendary. And my friend AMB did list all the good affixes over here. You're not expected to get all of those legendary potential, guys. Having 2 legendary potential is not bad on most of your gears. And sometimes even 1 legendary potential is okay. So always aim for the tier 7 ones, and then the tier 5 ones either gives you more damage, more utility, or more defensiveness. And as I go through those items, I'll highlight the crucial stats. So right away you can see, he is dual wielding the daggers. And the daggers will have a minus mana to the detonating arrows. He mentioned in his video that you want to get -8 together for your detonating arrow. So each of the daggers can roll from 6 to 3. Together you want to -8 on your mana in order to make the build work. So this way, when casting your detonating arrow, which usually costs 8 mana, this will cost 0 mana for the insane amount of procs with 0 cooldowns. Now, I should also mention that my friend also provided us with another Chinese player's guide, which is more early game and also more farming oriented, that does not use the trinity of warding protection. So notice that he also provided us with a transitional build, because not all of us will have all the legendaries right away, right? So I have the transitional build for you guys to have a look. I mentioned that if you're looking at the transitional build, you don't have to stack as much HP if you plan to go to his build. Because by getting into those items, what you're going to see in the video is he is setting on a lot of warding. He's converting all the HP into warding, and this is a fully warding build that gets a lot of ward regeneration and also a lot of defensiveness. Now, because my friend's Chinese video is 24 minutes long, it will take me some time to translate everything, and I make a detailed guide for you guys. So here we're just having a brief summary. The holy trinity of warding comes from this chest, this particular gloves, and also this particular legging. So what's going to happen is he's going to convert his HP and also missing HP into warding per second. And the crafting on the gloves, the most essential one is to get the tier 7 crafting, which you'll convert missing HP to warding per second. And so is the combination for the boots over here. Again, you're converting lost HP and also missing HP into warding per second to become more defensive. Now, getting more movement speed will help the build, because as you're going to see in the passives, having higher movement speed also means he will be gaining additional damage that scales with movement speed. Now, one of the highlights for those pair of gloves is that this will provide you with additional ward retention with uncapped cold resistance. This is why the build is stacking cold resistance, and you can see most of the stats over here, they have cold resistance, elemental resistance, which gives you more cold resistance, and also bonus health. So the holy trinity of the combination would definitely need those particular pair of gloves. And this is very important to have those gloves, and even better if you can get additional missing HP converted to warding. So before you guys transition into this build, if you are not having those 3 items, you can follow the previous build normally using those items. And once you have those 3 items, come over to the trinity over here for more warding for the setup for the endgame. After that, the amulet and also the ring is also target for warding. If you're not having the whole setup for the Holy Trinity over here, then you go for the normal amulet over here. So remember guys, if you transition into the full build, you either go 100% or you go nothing. Now in terms of the helmet, my friend did mention that it is quite easy to get this one to legendary 2 or 3 potential if you're farming for the helmet, and similar case for the rings. Now in terms of the ring, he is using this ring because he happened to have a legendary 3 or 2 potential at least on the ring, and he was saying that if you're going for a normal ring, just getting higher tier 7 legend lightning damage and also additional cold resistance will help for this particular setup. Now finally for the belt and also for the relic, he's getting increased damage from the doom stacks, and this is also coming from the doom stacks on hit coming from the ring. In terms of the relic over here, he is again getting additional lightning damage by matching his intelligence and also attunement. Notice that those two are equal. We'll explain this more in the detailed guide on the next one, but at the moment, if you're planning to play the high-end build, then you have to match the intelligence and also attunement for this relic to work. Yes, it's pretty complex. So while you're following the guide, if you want to play the build, make sure you start with the transitional build first before you dive into the endgame build. And then by tomorrow, a few hours later, I'll have the detailed explanation for you guys for this build available. Now briefly coming over to the skills of the build. The highest damage dealing skill will be the detonating arrow, which will be auto-casted using exploding trap. Detonating arrow will have a lot of ability to shock enemies and also deal more lightning melee damage coming from this particular arc blast. Now in terms of the exploding trap, my friend said to just follow his exploding trap. It is like kind of optimized in terms of at level 20, and you really need this one to be auto-casting your detonating arrow. In terms of smoke bomb, you will be having ability to cleanse yourself, and also ability to create more shadows which will duplicate your exploding trap casting. In turns, this will summon more detonating arrow and deals more damage. As for Swift, you'll be getting additional metagame because you're always sitting on below half HP. You'll also become invulnerable, and also over here, you'll create more shadows which duplicate your spells to allow you to deal even more damage. Shuriken is over here to provide you with more armor and also more defensiveness, and also to trigger more shock onto enemies to deal more damage. Now briefly going through the skill rotations of this build, you can see that my friend will cast Smoke Bomb right away to cleanse any debuff on himself. One thing I forgot to mention that is, yes, this particular unique boots will give you a debuff which allows you to be chilled every 3 seconds. So this is why he wants to remove the debuff so that he's not slowed and gain more damage from coming from the movement speed. Now once he shifts into enemies, what's going to happen is he can just cast his exploding trap, and because of the shadows, the clones, everything triggers tons of damage and it stacks infinitely. Yes, this triggers multiple castings of the exploding shot, and this is pretty much insane. And just as a demonstration, if you're doing with multiple targets, it also bounces. And yes, the bounce is crazy. So this is one of the strongest lightning marksmen, and it's incredibly fast. Now if you guys are playing this one in higher level corruptions, having the endgame setup and 2 to 3 legendary potential will help for this build. And I don't need to say much. You can see in the replays, and I'll have the replays available for you guys, you can see that he's only pressing 1 or 2 buttons, 3 buttons at most. So this is a very simple build that is actually auto casting most of your spells. Now before we finish, let's briefly talk about item acquisition. The daggers should be fairly easy to get. Now some of those items will be a little more rare, and you will be looking to farm the Frost Lich over here in the Blood, Frost and also Death timeline. Now while farming for these gloves, you can also be farming for your boots at the same time. So the boots is a quite common boost that drop from the Frost Lich as well. Now while doing the Monolith, you also want to be fighting the Shade, and over here the Shade of Ouroboros would drop this particular belt. Now in the next guide, I'll have a detailed target farming for each of those items, so I'm just briefly summarizing a few of those items while you guys are looking for those. Now in case if you guys are in the merchant guild, what I recommend is, it is quite important guys, so I did prepare some items. I only kept 1 of those daggers, I didn't think I'll need 2, right? So if you come over to the merchant guild and looking for items, if you do want to follow our build, some of my viewers have mentioned that after making our previous video with our Falconer, with the blasting trap Falconer, the price of item in the marketplace inflated because a lot of players were buying those items in the marketplace. So if you're following my guide, if you're high level with your merchant guild, you do want to collect some of those items from the marketplace before the price goes up. I think I'll stay in the Circle of Fortune because I have quite a few of those items in the Circle of Fortune. But if I were playing in a merchant guild and I want to try this build, make sure you come over and collect some of your top end items. Maybe collecting those daggers for 2 legendary potential because they're extremely cheap in the marketplace. So let me show you guys over here. If I put in the 2 legendary potential daggers, they're currently selling for 20,000 gold each. And just buy the ones with higher minus mana cost, so you get a together 8 mana cost. Now if you're looking for something that is 3 legendary potential cost, all of a sudden it is 3 million gold. There's a huge difference. So yes, if you're in the merchant guild and picking up those items for the marksman, just be aware, make sure you do this fast before the market inflation hits after posting this video. Now in terms of the loot filter, unfortunately guys, I did not play the marksman, so I don't have a loot filter for the marksman yet. But I'll be working on the loot filter for you guys for the early game, mid game and also late game for the marksman, as I will start the account to make a new character for the marksman and also starting playing my marksman and also leveling the marksman. So if you're following our videos, you have a step-by-step journey into leveling, transitioning and also farming for those items into the end game. And I'll be asking my friend to share his high-end loot filter of the marksman with you guys if you want to have a look at that one first. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I'll have my friend's video over here if you can understand Chinese. Now if you can't, I'll be translating that entire video into summarized notes for you guys very soon in the next few videos. So this is a wonderful build, and this makes me want to play Marksman. And yes guys, I will be playing Marksman as my 3rd character and also my 3rd class. Now if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so, because I'll be learning with tons of the top meta, last epoch build from different players in terms of solo and also in terms of co-op to push for higher corruptions, 800, 2000 here, and also different ways of getting top leaderboard with arena with leveling. And in doing so, we'll be learning multiple builds from the best players in the world. So make sure you subscribe and join me on this adventure to learn with last epoch. And if you guys do have an amazing build, whether it's a fun build, it's a creative build, or maybe a top meta build, you can share with me on Discord, and I'll look into it, learn the build, and share with everyone on the Last Epoch community.